All right, welcome back into the postgame show on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips live at the Harbortown Golf Links, Sea Pines Resort. Beautiful Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Let me get you a quick update of scores. Again, Justin Thomas is in the clubhouse at 10 under. Russell Henley, Scotty Scheffler at 7. Wyndham Clark, Brian Campbell, Matt Fitzpatrick, J.J. Spawn, all in a big group behind Brian Harmon. Who, of course, won the Open a few years ago, is at 5. Matt Kuchar, Keegan Bradley, Patrick Cantlay inside, and Tommy Fleetwood as well, and Jordan Spieth. A big group at 4. And speaking of Patrick Cantlay, no, he's not our next guest, but it's kind of like that. Scott Stocker is our next guest. He is Vice President, General Manager of the Boeing 787 program here in the state of South Carolina, and he is joining me adjacent to the 18th hole, not far from where he's been working with his clients. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay.
How was your pro-am round with Patrick yesterday?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good.
Patrick was great. The whole team here at the Heritage and the RBC Heritage was great. I didn't play that well. I got off the tee okay, so I felt good about that.
Right.
At least I wasn't duffing them off the tee, but once I got out there, man, it was a little rough. These greens. You got to be a pro to putt on these.
You do, and they're tiny. You got to hit them, and you got to make it count. There's no question. But again, with no wind today or very little wind, a lot of low scores that are out there. Boeing, RBC have come in of late and really have helped turn this event into one of the true, literally, signature events on the PGA Tour. But it's always meant so much to South Carolina. Take us through Boeing's involvement in wanting to make this event an even greater event for all involved.
Yeah, I think it's it is a great event. We've been doing it for 14 years now. Been partnered down here, and we love it. Our teammates love it. It's a huge economic impact, for the state of South Carolina. We're going to do a flyover Saturday afternoon at 4:00 with one of our airplanes. It's going to get delivered to Lufthansa Airlines here this summer. So, it's a great event. Our team really loves it, and it's just it's a big boost for everybody. And it feels good. Everybody sort of sees this come around in April. They look forward to it. And, we got a lot of folks that we work with down here, customers, suppliers, local officials. So we just love being a part of it. And, it's an elevated event now, which makes it all that much better.
Absolutely does. And, a flyover. I think most of us as American sports fans are used to the military flyovers.
Yeah.
Where those planes are moving.
Yeah.
And it's not that a big giant jet can't move.
That's right.
But this is a big giant jet. So what's a Dreamliner flyover relative to what we're used to?
Yeah, well, it's not going to look like an F-15 or an F-18, which Boeing builds those, by the way, too, and they move quick. But this is a little bit more elegant. The airplane, it's a fantastic airplane. Our customers love it. We love building it, but it's a little bit more unique flyover. It's we've got a whole test pattern that we practice with our pilots, which they're top notch. So they'll come to a couple of loops around the course, and everybody will be able to stop. And, the golfers always stop. You always see them, every year they stop, and everybody watches when the airplane flies over. And it's super quiet. The Dreamliner 787, super quiet airplane. So it's hard to, if the officials don't stop and tell everybody it's coming, you may miss it. But it's a beautiful scene. We've been doing it for years. We love getting the airplanes ready and having them down here. And, it's just something we can all celebrate at Boeing.
What's it been like to see the growth of what you guys do here in the state of South Carolina? Because it doesn't just mean a lot for this week. This is now, as you mentioned, you've been a part of it for a while, and Boeing's been here for a while. But it's getting even larger in terms of what you want to do.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and we've had great support from the state. We've had great support from the city of North Charleston, and really the whole low country and the state of South Carolina has been great to us. And we got the best teammates around. Our team comes to win. They come into Boeing every day working hard to make sure that we can build safe, high quality airplanes for our customers and get these turned over to connect people around the world. So, it's been truly amazing to see, where it started, 15 plus years ago and where it's grown to. And we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to invest in the site, invest in our teammates there. We're adding more teammates, as we continue to pick up on the rates for the 787. So,
right.
It's just been fantastic to watch the whole thing unfold.
How often do you actually get out and play around the golf?
Oh, let's see. Well, before this week, the last time I played was last summer. So it's been a few months.
Yeah.
We're pretty busy right now at the factory,
Right.
I got two young boys at home. They were able to come out and watch me yesterday, Lucas and Wyatt, which is an absolute highlight. But we're busy on the weekends running them around. So I don't get much chance to play. But yesterday was special. It was really fun.
And I know Lindsay keeps you busy, doesn't she?
Lindsay has got me working around the clock 24/7.
Yeah, I get it.
We got a great team at Boeing. So, we all love what we do. And so most days it doesn't even feel like work.
Well, let me say seriously, on behalf of sports fans and golf fans across the state, where this tournament's been going on since before I was born, before you were born, but there was a little danger zone, and now what you guys have done, RBC, the leadership of the great Steve Wilmot, turning this thing into something big. It's a huge deal for South Carolina, and so thanks, because I don't know what we do without this. Sometimes this is such a big deal for our state. We don't have a lot of pro stuff. Boeing has made a big deal to make it even bigger.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we love being involved. We want to be involved for a long time to come. And Steve's he's a class act, and he's done a great job with the tournament here, and really the whole team down here. I mean, it's the way they run this, and just everything that goes on behind the scenes is just fantastic. And to see the big names coming out every year now with the signature event, it really is special. It's great.
All right. Well, here's my thing. All right, help me out here, because the Dreamliner is the name of the plane. We have some great friends at home that have a fantastic golf simulation business. So how about on some of these big planes, let's put a golf simulator in the back, and then while you're flying 6 hours, you can play around a golf or two. What do you think?
Hey, I mean, if the price is right, we can do whatever you want. Jay, we could build all types, but that's not really our business model. But I like the creativity.
Yeah, we're just trying to think out loud here. It's just that's what we do. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
Scott, thank you. Appreciate it. Again, thanks to Boeing and helping out with an amazing event. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
That's Scott Stocker, the VP and GM of the 787 program in North Charleston from Boeing. Appreciate it. Lots more to do on the Postgame Show. All right, 4:00 on a Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in. Second hour of the post-game show coming at you. Split duty for one more day. Well, 2 more days, but a little bit different tomorrow. We'll explain later. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. I am at Sea Pines Resort, where the day one events are winding down at the Heritage. Excuse me here because I have to turn. Elijah, hold on. I am hearing a feedback. It's not my. It's my fault, not yours. On my phone. I had my phone volume turned up earlier, and I don't typically do that, and it was feeding back as I was talking to you. Now it's better.
Live radio. There we go. And you're on the stream now.
That's right. Live radio. Yeah, back on the stream now. Thanks again to Scott Stocker of Boeing for coming by and saying, hey, for a few minutes. They put a lot of money into this tournament to make it what it is today. So appreciate folks like that have invested in our state and in this event. And good to see. And I will not be here. We're leaving around lunchtime Saturday, but I'm not. And the only reason we're leaving, I say that this is a good thing. All right. It's one of my daughter's birthdays, and we're doing a big family thing Saturday night back in Columbia. So I need to be back for that. So I'll be leaving here, a little after lunchtime in an effort to get back to Columbia on time. But I really want to see this 787 flyover, man. Again, military flyovers, it's like bang, they're gone, right? They're cool, they're loud, they're fast, it's gone. But to see this thing to do a couple of loops, that'll be all right. So those people on Saturday afternoon are going to have fun, and I'll just have to watch on television.
Yep, you have to enjoy it vicariously through them. Because they will be videos, you just get on the internet, you're gonna find videos of it. But flyovers are always pretty cool. I'm a sucker for a good flyover.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I have to live vicariously tomorrow night through somebody as Coach Elijah Campbell is on the sidelines calling a play or more.
Yeah, I mean, if my success rate's 100%, those are good analytics right there.
Yeah. Well, if it is, and again, like I mentioned last hour, I'm not taking full credit, but I think Elijah explained it in a way better than I did. I wasn't going to go there. I was just waiting for him to do so. But I
was just following the clues.
In essence, there is that's right. Just fishing for compliments here.
There is social cues, Jay Phillips.
There is
well socialized as a child.
Yeah. That's good. Well, you've gotten to know me well now, which is good. That's why we have I think we have a very good program here because we have to know and play off of one another. But there is a Jay Phillips coaching tree.
Yes.
You said it. I wasn't going to, but again. First, 15 years ago, it was my good friend Deuce Staley, leaving as part of our radio station and our program. Deuce and Michael Haney and I had a good time together for about 3 years, and then Deuce was called into the National Football League to be a part of Andy Reid's staff in Philadelphia, and ultimately Deuce, of course, went on with Coach Peterson's staff to win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, and has been in Detroit and Charlotte and in Cleveland in his career. And now Elijah Campbell is becoming an assistant coach. It's not quite the same. I get it. Yet. Not quite the same.
It's tough to do it. Yeah.
But who knows where the future holds.
Yeah. Well, when this is very successful.
So I think this is turning into something.
It absolutely is. And you know what? There's a concept that I think we're bringing to this game tomorrow. My inner coaching staff, which is me and my deepest, darkest thoughts, we have concocted an idea that, I'm like 70% sure on in terms of I'm going to call this play. Not that if it's going to work. If I call this, it's going to work regardless.
Right.
Fully confident.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, the play's going to work.
Yes, absolutely.
We have it's
right here.
It's fictional, but it's fictional, but we have in our mind, Elijah and I have talked about it, like a coach's show, not just around here. This could be, general coach's show across the country. You get the guy who says something like, Coach, when I played high school ball, we ran, Bandit Z right Alpha 45 and we scored a play every time, Coach, every time. Why don't we run that play? And of course, the college coach is like, well, that's great. I don't know actually what that play involves, because your coach may have called it something, but that I'm glad, So that's what Elijah basically has right now. It's a guaranteed scoring play, right?
Exactly. And like that, that's why I'm dying to hear the first coach's show with Bill Belichick, where he gets that call and he's going to have to be like, I don't know, we're on to Pittsburgh. We're on to Wake Forest.
How many? Yeah, there's not a lot of do NFL coaches do. They don't do a whole lot of call-in shows, do they?
Some do. I know when I was a kid, the Titans used to air one on the local ABC station across the state, and it was usually it was supposed to look like a call-in show, but I know it was like pre-recorded. And Jeff Fisher would take questions. He would take like submitted questions, and Mike Keith, who's the voice of the Titans at the time, longtime former voice of the Titans, would kind of read them off, and then they would go through different concepts, and it was a pretty cool show. I mean, I'd watch it every week as a kid. It was fascinating, but not many. I would say not many are doing like that.
Questions all from like the Titans staffers, like the office.
There's a really good chance.
The ticket guy.
There's a really good chance if they're not taking the calls live. I can imagine it was definitely, staffers coming up with something to be like, all right, what's a flattering question we can ask? What is a question that we can just create good content with? Or they didn't have social media teams back then, but whoever was on your PR staff, was probably thinking of things to ask and be like, Bubba in Covington wants to know exactly what makes Derek Mason such a good punt returner or something like that. Those definitely came up. That was definitely how a lot of that went. But as a kid, I didn't know any better. I saw those people calling in.
Sure.
Or submitting questions through an email.
Well, yeah, you make a great point. I will be kind of, I hadn't even thought about that. That could be fascinating for Bill Belichick to take the thing that, well,
we're on to Wake Forest.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how many fans are really going to hit him up there, with questions like that. Do they really get that kind of football
crazy
question? Yeah. I don't know if they do, man. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe he's supposed to turn him into that. We'll see. Before we get back into talking some Gamecock football and not just what Elijah's going to do, but some of the questions that we have and what you guys may have in terms of looking ahead to tomorrow night. Update from the Heritage. Again, Justin Thomas is out front at 10 under 61 today. Russell Henley and Scotty Scheffler at 7. By the way, and I mean, duh. So, but, that's why I told you, Elijah, a lot more people here today. Scotty Scheffler is immensely popular. I mean, he's the defending champion here. He's won the Masters twice. He's Scotty Scheffler now. But again, I've been doing a lot here, mostly along 18 today. 17 was down at the turn at 10 too, and from 10 you can see 16 real easy too. So I've been kind of in that area today. But boy, the crowds that just love this guy, and the 18th fairway, and you could. It was funny. My wife and I were watching from the tee box when Scotty teed off, and you could see the crowd just flow down the fairway. And she said, "What's going to happen when he gets to the green?" And I said, "Just watch." And sure enough, it's not that they didn't want to see other people behind him or anything, but it kind of dissipates again. And everybody's just like following Scotty. And then once he's done, all right, what are we going to go do? So, but a lot more people here today than this time last year on a Thursday. And tomorrow, I'm telling you, it'll be raucous. So, and I know a lot of you that are listening right now at home will be down here tomorrow and through the weekend for a fantastic event. But anyway, real quick here, Wyndham Clark at 6, Brian Campbell, Matt Fitzpatrick, JJ Spawn, who won a couple of weeks ago, Gary Woodland, and Brian Harmon all at 5. Harmon is still on the course. He is playing 15 as we speak. Speaking of immensely popular, Matt Kuchar is at 4 under. Keegan Bradley is as well. Patrick Cantlay, Tommy Fleetwood, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, all at 4 under. Adam Scott, a former Masters winner, at 3, as is Shane Lowry. Lucas Glover, obviously very popular around here, as I said earlier. Victor Hovland finished 2 under today. And let's see, Ludwig Oberg is 2 under, playing 13. Again, as somebody that I think is going to be very, very good here shortly on tour. So a lot of stuff happening out here today. But again, perfect weather. Really, I mean, barely any wind, Elijah. So not surprised there's a lot of low scores.
This leads me to a question. You're talking about like the flock of people that are following Scotty Scheffler around like he's the Pied Piper. It kind of reminded me, or not reminded me, it kind of brought this question up in me because I'm curious about this. Because obviously, when Tiger Woods was at all of these, he was going to draw the biggest crowd. He was always going to be the biggest draw, even when he's not playing very well and he's well past what his prime is. Any event Tiger is in, he is the draw, right? So,
sure.
I want to ask you a question, Jay Phillips. Who is the bigger star in the sport right now? Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler, in terms of who is going to be getting the largest draws to watch them play on a week-to-week basis?
You know, I remember last year Rory was here, and Scotty, of course, had just won the Masters again. And again, I can't measure it, down to the number to be specific with a percentage, but
hard to, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they were a darn near 50-50. I really do. Gosh, Elijah.
Which is why it'd been awesome for Rory to be there this weekend just to find out, because then there's that extra level of star power you gain by winning the Masters. And now not only has he just won the Masters, he's become one of 6 golfers to ever win all of the majors. So that elevates his star level to another status. But how fast Scotty's gotten up there in the last few years is pretty remarkable.
Look, Rory, as you know, you heard me last week and how I felt about Rory winning. I'm a huge Rory McIlroy fan, not just for his golf and his personality, but I make no secret of my not disdain for the LIV Tour, but I don't like what the LIV Tour has done to golf, despite them saying it's going to help golf. And I think in that turn, where maybe Phil Mickelson sort of became the face of the LIV Tour for his popularity. And that, again, if you like it, that's fine. I'm not here to say anything else. Rory has, as you mentioned, with Tiger, fading now and in the twilight of his at least regular tour career. I hope Tiger can have a brilliant senior tour career if he can get healthy. Because my God, then watch the senior tour explode. Rory has again, he's become something larger than just a fantastic golfer. But Scotty, he just has that kind of aw shucks Texas, attitude about himself that people just gravitate toward. That's one of the things I think I like about golf, and is you pull for an individual and you do get a real sense sometimes of what kind of person they are when you see their interviews and you hear what people say about them. I'd almost call it 50-50. I suppose if you made me pick, I might slightly lean Rory because he's been doing it for a little bit longer. And again, because of some of those other things, but you could probably also, somebody else might look at it and make a case for Scotty, but they're one too. And people love Justin Thomas. People, love Jordan Spieth, those kind of guys. But that's tough. And I do wish you're right. But like I said, last year, I would have told you it was 50-50 for the purposes of what I was doing. Because I tried to follow both. And I remember sending you a lot of things.
Definitely.
Because I wanted to, because I had never seen Rory before. I had never seen Rory until last year down here. Because I had not been to a Masters where he had played. So it's that's a good question, man. But they're right at the top. There's no, I don't know. But Scotty today, boy, you could tell he's absolutely the biggest draw here. Let's put it that way. Absolutely the biggest draw here. Yeah. All right, we got some Gamecock football to discuss. Again, Coach Campbell not telling you what he's going to be calling, but we'll get into some of that. Have we learned more about the rosters as of yet, by the way?
I have yet to find them publicly. I saw the clips that the South Carolina Gamecock football Twitter page released. They had like a video of like the drafting or whatever where Shane was the commissioner and dapping up everybody that got drafted. And it's pretty funny. If you haven't seen it, we'll retweet it on our feed so you can. But
it was fun to hear from Shane yesterday and tell us
fun ordeal
that he was doing more of what we wanted than we had known when it came to having a draft. So that was fun. But we got a lot of Gamecock spring football ahead of tomorrow night's game. Talk some more baseball throughout the afternoon as well. From Hilton Head and Columbia, this is the Postgame Show. Love telling you about our good friends at Integrated Media, the best in home theater, and really the best, as I've been saying for a long time too, in home technology. It's not just about what you watch or listen to when it comes to what Integrated Media does. How about full home security? How about controlling your thermostat with an app on your phone from smart home technology? Next level. Integrated Media, fantastic at doing that. Everything can be in one place, and they can start you from scratch. If you're building a remodel, they can come in and work with you about how to upgrade your home across all levels of technology, or even something as simple as having one of their great folks come in and just, maybe you bought that video doorbell system at a big box store and you're like, oh man, I can't do this. Integrated Media can. So whether it's one room, whole house, indoors, outdoors, Wi-Fi that works everywhere, and so much more, 803-948-8327. The best in home technology is Integrated Media.
Moving on here on the post-game show. Elijah Campbell here at the Herndon Chevy Studios. Jay Phillips trying to figure out how this Comrex unit works. A little bit of technical difficulty. We had some static back there, so we're trying to figure things out. So Jay's restarting his Comrex unit. So while we wait on him to do that, we'll go ahead and discuss what we said we were going to discuss, a little bit of spring football. Spring games tomorrow, and it feels like we just started spring practice. Just like yesterday? It's kind of what it felt like to me. But we've already gotten to the spring game, and of course, it's free tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Anybody that wants to show up, highly recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because I get to call a play. I think it's genuinely a fun sporting event to get to go to every year, and mostly because it is free. All free stuff is good, but you get a first peek as to what this team is going to look like. And there's a lot of intrigue on what the defense looks like. And if I have to rank the things I look forward to most in this year's spring game, it's to see if there are any new defensive players that stand out. Now, this April, South Carolina Gamecock football is going to be all over the news here, not just because the spring game and the spring practice for this football team, but also because of the amount of Gamecock defensive players that are going to hear their names called in the 2025 NFL draft through multiple rounds. On one hand, that's great. It's great publicity for the program. It's great proof of concept with what Clayton White and this defense loves to do. It's a great proof of concept as to what playing at South Carolina can do for you as a defensive player. But on the other hand, with, those still here in Columbia, having to figure out who steps up and fills the role of a Dylan Stewart. Or not Dylan Stewart, a Kyle Kennard. Dylan Stewart's filling the role of Dylan Stewart because he didn't go anywhere. But Kyle Kennard, Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders, Nick Emenwari, Debo Williams, Demetrius Knight. Those are some big names that you're going to have to fill. O'Donnell Fortune at corner. He was fantastic last year. Out of all of the great defensive players that played in Gamecock uniform last year, I feel like we don't talk about him enough with his contributions. But filling out this defensive roster, finding out who is going to be the perfect edge rushing complement to Dylan Stewart, finding out who is going to be that perfect middle linebacker, captain of the defense type player like Debo Williams, is going to take some time, and it's not going to be figured out this spring because there are a lot of new faces. You need a large sample size to be able to start making those decisions, but you get a little bit of that sample size here in the spring, and you'll get to see these guys try to prove their worth at these spots under the lights at Williams-Brice tomorrow. Shane Beamer was asked in the press conference earlier this week about some of the newer faces on defense, what roles we might expect to see them play, and how they're starting to progress so far this spring.
Yeah, as you guys know, there's so many new faces on the defense, and that's the thing is you go out there for the first day of spring ball and you're missing all these guys that have been literally at every practice with you. Boogie, Tonka, TJ, Debo, O'Donnell. I mean, literally every practice since I got hired as the head coach, those guys were at practice. And the first time they weren't was the first day of spring ball. And you look around and you have so many new faces, but that's exciting as a coach. And I like the group. I really do. I think we're longer at a lot of positions from a length standpoint. We are certainly more athletic in some ways. We're just really, really young, but I've been pleased with the progress and the steps that the defense has taken this spring. The new transfers that have come in, I think, have really done a nice job of solidifying that they belong. The freshmen that have come in have continued to take steps. We're really excited about this, all the new guys, transfers and freshmen. They're all going to have a chance to help us as well. And, now it's continuing to just develop depth and get experience. You think about it, there's, as far as guys that have started games here at Carolina, there's not many returning on defense that have started. Now there's a lot of really good new players, but they're just inexperienced. But I've been pleased with the progress that they've made, and they've been disruptive. And now we just got to be more consistent throughout practice. We'll have a good period, then we'll have a not so good period. Same thing with the offense. That's kind of where, going back to some of the questions about the spring game on Friday night, that would be a successful one is if I just saw consistency offensively and defensively and special teams, because we've been a little up and down, just, some practices and some scrimmages.
Looking forward to some consistency and seeing what they have in the depth. Last year, obviously, this defense was so loaded with its starting unit, but they could almost hockey line shift the defensive line because of the amount of talent they had on that second unit. Guys like Monkel Goodwine, just chilling on the second unit, but still being able to make plays once they get into the game. Trying to rebuild that depth is definitely something I just maybe haven't thought about enough because I'm just get so fixated on who fills Kyle Kennard's spot, who fills O'Donnell Fortune's spot, who fills Nick nick him in worry spot. But figuring out your depth and where guys fit in certain places, definitely a big part of this spring. And now that we have Jay Phillips back, we have defeated the machine. We have raged against it. We've raged against it, and now we have defeated it. We have gotten him back into our grasps. Jay, this is a very interesting data point. I'm going to use that word. I love it. But it's going to be an interesting data point on Friday night to see exactly what these guys that are fighting for these defensive battles and position battles can bring to the table in a very exciting sneak peek into what this new look defense kind of has next year.
Yeah, I part of this comes back around to what we say about spring games. How much can you learn if your defense has a good day and your offense doesn't, or vice versa? And, you can't get too high, too low. I think what Shane said is he wants a little bit of that consistency. And perhaps one of the things that we talked about, with him a little bit yesterday, but as you and I have talked about this game this weekend or throughout the week to look ahead to tomorrow night, is that level of competition, the draft last night. And instead of, worrying as much about, am I going to be 1, 2, 3 on the depth chart, just go out tomorrow night as best you can and try to win the football game and almost, let those other things take care of themselves. Again, and I you never know from a coach's perspective exactly what it is that they really see in a spring game or what they really want. And do they want different things from different players, Elijah? Is there in a sense of, say, well, let's take Lenora Sellers. Excuse me. Lenoris is going to be the starting quarterback next year. Mm-hmm. So you might want to see different things from him than from a guy that is, looking to be a backup corner, right? Or that number, say, that number 11 or 12 on the offensive line or something like that. I don't know, where we can go to different positions and different depth needs and things like that. So again, which just comes back to why I'd love to see a game against an actual team in spring for college football. But again, I won't bang that drum today, but again, I think a level of competition, I don't know if there's a reward for winning, again, fantastic steak dinner for the winners, and
that's a good prize. I would try to win that prize. Yes.
Yeah. And you still want to eat, right? So the losers get, like, I don't know, corn dogs,
bologna sandwich, non-fried,
right?
Straight out the package. Maybe a spam sandwich. There's just a truckload of spam that
but you don't want to have people feel bad either. So I don't know how you spur that level of competition, no pun intended, for the mascot. But it's for me, and we'll talk about it on the other side. I do have a couple of positions that I'm interested in seeing how the development is going. But exactly what we take from what they do tomorrow night, I don't know. Maybe I'm an old man now, Elijah Campbell, and I've just learned to try not to put too much into a spring, because I've seen some guys just go ball out in a spring game only to not be heard from at all come September, October, November.
That happens. Yeah, that definitely happens. Like it happens in the NFL preseason too. You have guys that show out in these preseason games and then they don't do anything when they're actually on the roster. I mean, that's we have, it's not everybody's Victor Cruz who does that and ends up being very successful, and having successful NFL careers. And covering the Tennessee Titans for long enough, I have plenty of examples of guys who looked like world beaters in training camp in the preseason and don't actually end up contributing anything. But it's a fun sneak peek, and I think that's really the whole gist of a spring game is enthusiasm, fun sneak peek for what you got on the roster next year.
Well, I have written down 2 positions on my rundown right here. All right. And I will give you those as to what I'm looking for tomorrow and see what you guys think, see what Coach Campbell thinks as the postgame show rolls on from Columbia and Hilton Head on this Thursday.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Forest Drive at Highway 12 near Percival Road, Hardin Street at US 76 near Divine Street. Got one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road again, this time near Rabin Road. Also have one on 77 southbound. Just one accident on 77 right now. That's southbound at I-20 near exit 16. And lastly, we have one on US 176 Broad River Road at I-20.
Talking some Gamecock spring football, the Garnet and Black game tomorrow night at Williams-Brice Stadium. We will have coverage for you on 107.5 The Game in Columbia beginning at 6:30. The kickoff is at 7:30 under the lights. It's free for fans. So if you're in town, what a nice opportunity to go see the lights display. Maybe you hadn't done that yet. I don't know. Hey,
they
check
do
it out.
all
And
the fun pregame stuff. They do 2001.
Absolutely.
Of course, they're going to do Sandstorm. So it's a fun simulated experience.
And again, tomorrow night, Coach Elijah Campbell calling a play. We don't know for whom yet. We're working on that.
Don't know for whom. Trying to find some.
It doesn't matter though, because the play is going to work.
The play is going to work. I think I've concocted a foolproof play. I'm going to run it by you during a break, Jay Phillips.
Okay.
And you will grade it on creativity.
Well, again, I helped Deuce Staley become an assistant coach by encouraging him to move on, despite not wanting to lose him to talk radio. And I don't even know that he really wanted to leave. The
NFL comes calling again.
But it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The money was about the same. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why, if the Cleveland Browns called me right now and said, Elijah, we need a trick play coordinator. We're going to, it's a lot of money. I'm going to be like, you're going to have to do some serious outbidding.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough. But anyway, we did that back in the day. We're going to do it for Elijah as well. But before that, our buddy Ernest has some spring game thoughts and maybe potential ideas. What's up, man?
Well, before that, Jay, Elijah, you didn't mention the accident on 77 up near 55 with the Pine Ridge Middle School students with the bus that flipped over today. But we'll move on from that. But
I'll get the crack staff on it.
I was talking with Bill and Preston this morning and brought up some good points. You play Furman or Wofford, and let's say they beat your team. What's your fans going to think how your season's going to go? But two, let's say they got somebody who wants to enter the transfer portal that's really good in the spot you need, say, for defensive back. Could you pull that kid? Because, transfer portal's open coming into the fall. So how would that work? And I want to hear your thoughts on it, Jay.
I hadn't thought about that last one. Thank you, Ernest. I don't know if you would work out a deal with the school you're going to play that you're not going to, that they would be off limits, or that might even be part of some type of larger ruling within the NCAA structure if they allow this, that
an anti-poaching clause.
Yeah, that, hey, part of playing this game means you will not, at least in the coming season, make it something similar, Ernest, to what the Southeastern Conference currently has. And just to remind everybody, the SEC has a rule that if you, as a football player, enter the spring football portal, you can enroll at another SEC school, but you would not be eligible to play at that school in the coming season. So again, if you were a Georgia Bulldog player right now that enters the portal and you transferred to Tennessee, you couldn't play for Tennessee until 2026, or whatever other example you want to use. So maybe, Ernest, if there is a rule written, because I think you make a good point and you raise a fair question. as to that might be part of it. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that yet, but I'm glad you did. And somebody else ultimately will, because again, they're going to discuss this. They've already told us they're going to discuss the opportunity to have some type of interaction between schools in the spring. And I do think it's going to happen. When? I'm not sure. I would say within a couple of years, though, we'll at least get like joint practices or whatever else. To your second or your first point, and are we going in reverse? I don't know. Look, one of the things I've said about exhibition games, Elijah, you and I have both been talking about this for a while now, is if you're going to do this, then certainly you would also put some parameters in place to, mitigate injury. Again, not to prevent injury, because you just can't prevent all injuries in this sport. It's too violent, and too many things that you do with your own body when you have non-contact injuries. But you wouldn't hit the quarterback. So quarterbacks, you might blitz, but you can't hit them. So at that point, if you kind of get back there, maybe a ref blows a whistle, or you just don't blitz at all. Again, you probably don't punt, or if you do punt, you don't rush the punter so that there's no blocking a kick and then running into a kicker or roughing a kicker and having him get hurt, and a few other things that you could do, again, to mitigate injury. But in terms, Ernest, of losing, I don't know. I get it. You raise a fair question in that if they, if Wofford beat South Carolina, if Furman beat Clemson in April, oh gosh, what does that mean? I honestly, Elijah, I probably wouldn't read too much into it, because I still think at that point you are using it as an exhibition.
Yep.
As a way to run plays and figure some things out. I wouldn't sweat it too much. Now, if I don't know, I'm just going to throw out, if I'm Iowa State and I'm playing North Dakota State and I lose in April, that might worry me a little bit more, because they're better. But I don't know where to draw that line.
Well, here's the thing about the spring game too, and Shane kind of touched on it on Tuesday a little bit, where so much of the emphasis is just on operational stuff, right? How you line up. Are you lining up correctly? For a lot of these guys, it's the first time they've had a college football playbook to have to memorize, right? And be familiar with. Are you lining up in the right spot? Are you doing what you're supposed to do on this play? Do we understand the verbiage when we get into the huddle and call the play? Are we all in sync whenever we have to run a specific play, right? Like, that's where a lot of the value in a spring game goes. So you can master those fundamental parts of just the operation of an offense or a defense, right? Like, how well are you understanding the scheme? How are you understanding the words we use, the verbiage being used? That's usually the most important part of this. And doing that against another team, I think, is more beneficial than doing it against your own. A coach can focus in on more minute things, from play to play, without having to be like, oh, great pass and oh, great catch, or was that a bad, coverage slip up by the defense, right? Like, you're able to give yourself a better idea as to what your performance is. But at the same time too, if that ever happened, and say, you're playing a Wofford or a Furman or whoever, right, in a spring game exhibition, and you lose it, the season's still how many months away? I mean, it's April.
Yeah, 5.
About 4 or 5 months away. So there still should be no reason to cause panic or alarm within the program. Some people will do it because that's human nature, but I'll give you an example right now as to how much even preseason scrimmages or exhibitions don't really hold a lot of weight to what's going to happen in the season. Women's college basketball, UConn, national championship team, the most dominant team in the country. We saw what they did to South Carolina here in Columbia and in the Final Four or national championship game. You want to know who they lost to in a secret scrimmage, closed door secret scrimmage?
Central Connecticut State.
Same color scheme, almost. Columbia in the Ivy League.
Yeah.
Columbia beat them in a closed door scrimmage. And Gino, after the game, after the championship, said, we lost a scrimmage to an Ivy League team, and I didn't think we'd make the NCAA tournament, which is so ridiculous to say that. But anyway, that was
Columbia, and Columbia ended up being like a 10 or 11.
They were an at-large, I believe. I think they won their conference tournament. Harvard was the at-large, but Columbia has had a fantastic season. But at the same time, someone tells you Columbia beats UConn in a closed door secret scrimmage, you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with UConn?
Right.
And turns out nothing was, right? That type of stuff just happens in exhibition games.
Well, and tell me how you lost.
Yeah, how did you lose?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if in a spring game, Ernest, to your point, if an FCS team beat an SEC team, 49-10, maybe I have a little more concern
that
in my
one
mind
would cause concern. Yes.
But if it's a close game or whatever, and you're working on continuity, cohesiveness, like Elijah said, just in some cases, just where to be lined up, what the verbiage is, what the cadence is, things like that. I wouldn't sweat it. I'd worry about any loss like that in the regular season. I wouldn't worry as much about it, because again, then you're running your ones and your twos and your units that you want to have, which I think is beneficial. But I get Shane's point too about this kind of game creating a level of competition within the team. So, both have their merits, but I know there's a reason why guys like Shane and many others would like to have a spring game against another school, because it can give you a better idea of your entire football team. Lots more to do. I'll come back with those two positions that I think I'm most interested in seeing tomorrow night and what it tells us leading into the fall. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back. Postgame show rolling on from Hilton Head and Columbia. Jay Phillips at Sea Pines Resort, Harbortown Golf Links. Day one of the Heritage nearly done. And I see a few folks, Elijah Campbell, this is a mild prediction. But as I see folks leaving the 18th fairway and green area here to my left, I think some of them are going to be asleep real soon.
You think they maybe didn't get a good night's sleep or early drive into Hilton Head today, or maybe someone mistaken one of their gummy bears, one of their Haribo gummy bears in their purse for a melatonin gummy. Possible. I don't know what else could cause such exhaustion at 4:49 Eastern.
There's people here you can tell have had a good day, had a fun day. That's what this place is all about. It's fun.
That I would be too if I had endless access to Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper, and maybe it's a crash from the sugar rush. How about that?
I told y'all. Here's the funny thing. I say funny. It depends on your point. But I told y'all yesterday that where I see these sky boxes and whatnot. And look, obviously these are high dollar sky boxes, and that's great. I'm not here. This is, this is where things are at a lot of sporting events. But I told y'all yesterday that it looked like they were unloading what amounted to an entire store, like if it was greens or bottles or your favorite, red dot, if you will, just unloading the whole store. Guess what they were doing this morning, Elijah Campbell?
Oh, what were they doing?
They were unloading even more.
Someone looked at the crowd and said, "We're going to need a bigger boat." And by boat, I mean a truck with more alcohol in it.
My wife and I did that. My wife said, "Man, they're bringing out even more." And I was like, "After yesterday?" I was like, "Did they already know?"
You just got Billy Mays at the golf course. But wait, there's more.
Right? Yeah, there's more. Right? Yeah. Your ShamWow also comes with a bottle of Crown Royal. No, They had a lot more unloaded today, and again, that's just here, so not down in an area near where I was earlier today, or places over near 1 and 9, or any of the other hospitality areas. Not to mention, just there's a really cool setup back behind like the pro shop down near First Fairway and 9th Fairway that is it's pretty. It's nice. They got when I say a big screen TV, I don't mean like a 60-inch, man. I mean like, I don't know, 200-inch, big, so you can watch everything and listen to everything. And they even have a space. I'll tell you this much. They have an entire devoted Wicked Weed bar. So for a guy like me,
me, that's a dangerous game.
I mean, it's got the big Wicked Weed logo right up there on it. I'm like, and then here I am, working like like I do. So no Wicked Weed for me
yet
today, but yet. Yeah, but I'll wait till I get off the air.
That's something I see. I'm like, you know what? I'm at home base here. This is the hub.
Yeah. Now, right now, all I have a free plug for the fine folks. If you're watching on YouTube, the fine folks at the Coca-Cola Company, I have a nice bottle of Dasani. I promise you, it's Dasani. It is not anything else. But that's currently what I am enjoying out here at Sea Pines. Wide receiver and defensive back. I didn't do it to coincide with one another, Elijah Campbell. Just happened that way. But those are the positions. Not that I'm most interested to see how they perform tomorrow night as much as what we hear about what the coaches like.
Yes.
And what they've got, because with receiver, you lose a little bit. Again, really more than anything, I think the biggest loss you have in terms of pass catching is probably Josh Smith. And I like the tight end room, but again, with Mazio and Nick, I think what you got there, but what's behind them, because defenses in the SEC can focus on those guys, or a Clemson defense can focus on those guys and try to negate what they do. And then again, for you, how do you negate what others do? Fortune is gone. Eminwari is gone. And those are really, really important players. And yes, they're replaceable to some degree, but by whom? And you've got a lot of bodies. If y'all look at the roster and you see numbers, and that's good. What do you have in terms of quality developed depth? I think they've done a great job recruiting high school and portal and developing. We've seen guys like Nick Eminwari, Elijah, or Kyle Kennard, or D Knight, Josh Simon, others that have really been developed while they've been here in Columbia. So you like that aspect too if you're a Carolina fan. But those two for me, those two positions, again, not so much performance tomorrow night, but what do we hear Saturday, Monday, about who they like and maybe how some kind of spring depth chart begins to take shape going into the summer.
The wide receiver thing for me is fascinating because you have a mix of guys who are returning. So you have someone like Nick Harbor, who produced a lot towards the end of last year, and you saw the growth in his game, right? You saw Mazeo Bennett be a factor from day one. And you have guys coming back that you're excited about, but you also have guys coming in and a loaded wide receiver class from the a recruiting standpoint, a high school recruiting standpoint. How does someone like Malik Clark look already? Or Jordan Gidry,
right.
So many guys, or Lex Cyrus, I'm incredibly excited to see. Anybody that you stole from Penn State, I get excited about, right? Especially when he's from their own backyard. What do those guys look like already? And which one of those guys can make a jump? Now, Donovan Murph hadn't been playing in the spring. He'll join the team in the fall. But
right.
How ready are those guys right now to be able to come in and just add to the depth of the wide receiver room? Makes it interesting.
Yeah. It is. And if I had to rank them too, I'd say wide receiver for me is number one in terms of what it's going to look like, because I think that's the next real bit of growth that this offense can take. Hour 3 coming up.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Decker Boulevard at Brookfield Road, Forest Drive at Highway 12 near Percival Road, Hardin Street at US 76 near Divine Street, another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road. This one's near Rabin Road. One on I-20 westbound at Alpine Road near exit 76B. And the good news is that the accident previously causing an issue on the right exit ramp of South Carolina 277 northbound at Parkland Road has since been cleared. So traffic moving pretty smoothly through there.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour. I think we actually have an abbreviated hour. Am I right about that, Elijah Campbell? I don't want to speak out of turn, but I thought so. We have a little early edition of Carolina Calls and then some Carolina baseball. So we'll be out of here a little bit early. It has nothing to do with me going to that Wicked Weed place I was talking about earlier, I promise.
But maybe that can inspire you to get there a little sooner.
Just part of the experience here, kids.
Part of the gig.
Speaking of the experience, part of the experience is watching golf. Yes, there's a golf tournament here too. In addition to a big giant party, there is a signature event on the PGA Tour. That's why I'm down here at Sea Pines Resort. Justin Thomas is the leader in the clubhouse after day one, a 10 under 61. Russell Henley, Scotty Scheffler are at 7 under par. Wyndham Clark and Brian Harmon are at 6. Brian is just finishing his round on 18, so that could change. A big group at 5 under that includes Matt Fitzpatrick, J.J. Spawn, Gary Woodland. At 4 under, Matt Kuchar, Keegan Bradley, Patrick Cantlay, Tommy Fleetwood, Jordan Spieth, amongst others. A couple of guys out on the course still, but by and large, everybody is done. Maybe looking at it, Elijah, probably got about maybe 5 or 6 groups that are left out on the course. I will say this is a signature event here at Harbortown, so any of you that have been in the past before it changed formats, they went off on 1 and 10 with a full field of well over 100 golfers. Not the case anymore with a signature event, so everybody in twosomes goes off from number 1 throughout the morning and the afternoon. But a perfect day down here today, barely any wind. It's been, it started off in the maybe high 50s this morning into the 60s, and I've got 74 degrees on Hilton Head Island right now, at least on this section of the island. But again, the immensely popular Justin Thomas at 10 with the even more popular Scotty Scheffler right behind him at 7 under. So I got to see both of those guys a little bit today. Saw Victor Hovland for a little bit, saw Cantlay for a little bit. Amongst others, Tommy Fleetwood for a while too. So fun time. And again, a lot of you be down here tomorrow, but and I'll have some call in throughout the day tomorrow as well ahead of Coach Elijah Campbell's appearance at the spring game and the Gamecock football players too.
Yes. That's all becoming a secondary headline.
Yeah, that's all happening. And we have some discussion on that coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, as we continue our integrated media headlines of the day, Carolina baseball is indeed back at it tonight, 6:30 first pitch, South Carolina and Mississippi. Do want to remind you some different times this weekend. Tomorrow is a sort of matinee, a 4 o'clock start, and 2 o'clock on Saturday. Again, an earlier start tomorrow to accommodate those of you who would like to go and watch a little baseball, and then head over to Williams-Brice for a 7:30 kickoff in the Garnet and Black game. As it stands right now, the pitching matchups look like this. Brandon Stone back in the rotation for Carolina. The sophomore righty is 1-4 with a 5.75 in 33 innings pitched, 32 strikeouts, just 8 walks. So that's a better ratio than a lot of guys have on the Gamecock baseball team. Hunter Elliott is a junior lefty. He goes tonight for the Rebels. He is 5-1 with a 3.92, 43 2/3, 53 strikeouts, 21 walks. Tomorrow afternoon, Jake McCoy for Carolina, sophomore lefty, 3-3 with a 7.30, 53 strikeouts in 37 innings pitched. That's good, but 26 walks, not so much. Riley Maddox, a senior righty for Ole Miss, 4-2 with a 5.75, 36 innings pitched, 36 strikeouts, 16 walks. Mason Nichols will go for Ole Miss on Saturday, and Coach Maneri believes Dylan Eskew will be ready to start on Saturday for South Carolina. He wasn't fully committed to that yesterday in some batting practice press opportunity, but did feel that was likely going to be the case. So again, 6:30 tonight, 4 o'clock tomorrow, 2 o'clock on Saturday, Gamecocks and the top 15 Ole Miss Rebels. And Elijah, we've talked with two of our favorite people that cover this program, John Whittle and Jack Veltri this week, and each raising real questions about just, if not so much questioning the coaching directly, just some of the decision-making when it comes to usage and a few strategies here and there, and maybe both in their own way echoing one another about the need to find some level of stability, especially with this pitching staff, and just really having defined roles that might make guys more mentally comfortable with what they're being asked to do.
And mentally consistent too. I mean,
yeah.
Like these athletes, man, so many athletes are creatures of habit. And one of the reasons why they're able to do what they do is because they've had so much practice to do it throughout the course of their entire lives. And part of that practice comes in a routine of how you do things. And when things are getting shifted around, it can absolutely have an impact on how somebody performs if it's outside their norm, right? And that there's a reason that, for people that like to bet on the NBA on the second half of a back-to-back, sometimes those legs are going to be a little more tired, and it's easy to fade the team that just got done playing the back-to-back. They're playing a team that did not play the night before, right? Sometimes there's rhythm to this. And I do believe that, especially with the starting rotation or maybe some players that have been in and out of the bullpen, I think that might be like, let's use Matthew Becker, for example, right? Started out in the rotation, using in the bullpen, kind of a lot of shifting around of his roles to trying to find out where he fits. Maybe for the best to go ahead for the rest of the season, put him in just one and let him prepare for that one and focus on being that role for the rest of the season. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I think you already know what it looks like with a large sample size of kind of shifting him around. So that's one thing that I think would make a ton of sense when it comes to explaining a lot of the pitching woes and how maybe certain guys haven't stuck at certain spots in their role. That honestly could have a whole lot to do with it that I just personally haven't really considered until they brought it up.
Well, it's look, I'm not going to sit here and say with 15 games to play that it's any kind of lost cause or a last chance opportunity, but I just feel like if you're going to spark anything, something's got to happen this weekend where you have to win this series. You've played 6 series against top level competition. That includes the Clemson series. You were swept in 3 of those. And you also lost to North Carolina. I mean, you got to find a way to do better and find a way to beat. I mean, everybody you play in this conference is going to be good, and you don't play Missouri this year. Mm-hmm. So, you can't say, well, Missouri's not good. You don't get to play them.
You don't get the free space on the bingo card. You do not.
Right. Well,
Florida, those spaces.
Right. Florida did last week, and they went from 2 wins to 5 just like that because they swept Missouri, who's not yet won a conference game. That's beside the point now. But if you're going to get something done where, again, it already feels like climbing Mount Everest, with only like a plastic fork instead of one of those pick things, then you better win this series this weekend. I'm not saying you got to go sweep it, because I don't think that's going to happen, but you need to win this series. You need to start winning and stacking some wins, and consistency with usage and roles could potentially provide that. We shall see. 6:30 tonight, Derek and Coach Lake on the call. Continuing with some Gamecock news for you. It was officially announced today that the NCAA's leading scorer in women's basketball last season, Tania Latson, is now a Gamecock. She has signed. Dawn Staley saying of Tania, she has established herself in the college women's game, and her accomplishments speak for themselves. But the beauty of her game is not just her ability to score. She has another superpower in her ability to set her teammates up to score. And that's just a dangerous combination for opposing teams. Tania is an incredible leader and, more importantly, a fierce competitor. We're honored to be part of her journey. So official now. And Elijah, I know as the basketball fan that you are, we talk about this a lot. The scoring is one thing, but not just the ability to assist and set up, but the desire to do it is perhaps even more important. And from what Dawn says, young Miss Latson has that in her game.
Yeah, and with a program like this, I don't think we have any fear of Latson going full Eagle staff. I don't think we're going to get Eagle staffed on this situation. I expect Tania Latson to be playing in a Gamecock uniform come the fall. But I like what you said about her ability to distribute too. It's not just a want to. The ability to be able to draw extra defenders over, make reads. So much about collecting assists isn't just being a great passer. It's being a smart basketball player, knowing the correct basketball play to be made. And when you have a large sample size of somebody like Tania Latson, who has been doing it at a high level, at the P4 level, and doing it while also putting up 25 points a game, just ridiculous scoring numbers, that also shows you this player can command an entire offense. And that's exactly the Latson effect. She's able to command the entire offense.
Continuing our integrated media headlines, our good friend Chris Lowe of ESPN covering the SEC and college football says that UCLA is now maybe the leader for the services of former Tennessee Volunteer Nico Iamaleava. But I'll read verbatim here. Chris says, not for nearly the money he was asking for from Tennessee. One source said UCLA was content to, quote, sit tight while Iamaleava considered his options. We'll see if it gets worked out, said the source. He's extremely talented with starting experience against elite competition. That's sort of where we are right now. Again, you'll all recall that about a week ago today is when a week ago tonight at least. Pete Nakos of On3 broke the story that Nico's camp and UT were in some form of discussion about upping his deal from roughly $2.5 million to $4 million for the coming season. The next day, of course, Nico skipped practice, which was on the eve of the orange and white spring game at Neyland Stadium. And by Saturday afternoon, Josh Heupel had told us all that Nico Iamaleava was no longer part of the Tennessee program. Then a couple of days later, his dad comes out and says, hey, it wasn't about the money. It was about what they wanted Nico to do. And I feel like the only person who believes that is Nico's dad.
Yep, because it's not a lie if you believe it.
If you believe it. There you go.
And I think he's taking those steps right there, because I don't know if you could have left a quarterback-friendlier offense. That may or may not have sent the last two quarterbacks who played in that system to the NFL. Josh Heupel, a guy who may or may not have helped escalate Dylan Gabriel's trajectory. And if whether or not Dylan Gabriel goes to the NFL or not doesn't matter, because he put up big numbers at Oklahoma and Oregon and became a Heisman finalist. That offense worked pretty well for him. It worked pretty well for Mackenzie Milton, who maybe could have had a future in the NFL. It wasn't for a gruesome leg injury at the end of his UCF career. And someone named Drew Lock, who has been a starter and a backup in the NFL, also propelled a season with Josh Heupel into making him a second-round draft pick. So I don't know. Would I want to play for an offense that's produced NFL quarterbacks and get to throw the ball a bunch in a game? Or do I want to use the excuses the offense was the reason I'm leaving, so I'm joining the 111th offense in the country in UCLA for a holdover coach? Like, come on, get out of here. Like,
I don't think Nico. I mean, look, if I'm wrong, so be it. Okay, I don't think Nico Iamaleava, if he goes to UCLA, will be back in the college football playoff next season. But he was last year, and probably could have been again. Tennessee's going to be good. I know they lose. Listen, the biggest loss was James Pierce, all right, not Nico Iamaleava. That's my opinion.
And Dylan Sampson.
Yeah. So take it as you will, kids. But we'll see if he goes to UCLA. And finally, real quick here, I know some people are probably going to be glad about this. The cynics are out there, but Coach Lee Corso has announced that he will be leaving College Game Day. Says, my family and I will be forever indebted for the opportunity to be part of ESPN and Game Day for nearly 40 years. I have a treasure of many friends, fond memories, and some unusual experiences to take with me into retirement. It says he's going to retire in August. I don't know if he's going to, I'm not sure based on what I'm looking at here. If he is going to, I think it says there's going to be one broadcast that he's going to be part of, and then that'll be it. So I'll miss him. Look, it's been tough. He's had a stroke, Elijah, as everybody knows, and it's not been as easy. He wasn't able to travel a lot, certainly during COVID. And I mean, he's 90. He's 90, and he's been doing it the whole time. I'm glad they continue to give him the opportunity, and Lee Corso has meant a lot to college football.
He certainly has, and it certainly, College Game Day can still be good, but it will never be the same without him.
No, it won't. It won't. And by the way, if you didn't see, Reese Davis re-upped. Apparently, Fox came after him with a boatload of money. And then Mickey showed up with like all kinds of fast passes for Disney World, and Reese and the family said, sure, that's good. That'll work. All right, we're going to come back. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. We're not going to go over the play itself, but we're going to discuss what Elijah Campbell is looking at, the play call in tomorrow night's Garnet and Black game. This is the postgame show. AAA Heating and Air, ready to keep you and your family nice and cool in these spring and summer months. They get really, really hot. Heck, it gets hot even into the fall across the Midlands of South Carolina. 803-677-1500. If it's time to just get an inspection here at the beginning of the hot weather months, call them up. Let one of the great techs come in, see what's up. Need anything? They'll take care of it. If not, hey, you're good to go. Thumbs up. Maybe it's time for something new. Maybe you look at that power bill every month and say, gosh, it costs that much to run my HVAC. Do I need something new and more efficient? Well, you might, and you can take advantage of no payments or interest for a full year, guaranteed financing, a $1,500 system buyback rebate, and a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. Join me, Bill Gunner, and many of your friends and neighbors across the Midlands. Stay nice and comfortable all year long with AAA Heating and Air. 803-677-1500. Tell them we sent you to AAA Heating and Air. All right, welcome back in. Just a few minutes left here on this Thursday. We're making way for a spring football edition of Carolina Calls with Coach Beamer, and that'll go straight into Carolina baseball, Gamecocks, and the Ole Miss Rebels. Real quick, baseball this weekend. Georgia is at Vanderbilt, A&M at Arkansas, Bama at LSU, Auburn visits Texas, Oklahoma at Missouri. Those are the ones that start tonight. And now as I try to do it, y'all, my interwebs don't want to cooperate. So I'll tell you the rest of the series tomorrow. But those are the ones that start tonight. Most series beginning tonight in the SEC. All right. Elijah has just sent me. Now I need to be careful. So if I'm if you just like throw up a big stop if I go too far.
I'll just turn your mic off.
But yeah, that's right. Yeah, just kill it.
I have power.
But I now this is not what you're necessarily. And we're not trying to be coy, y'all. But this is why, tomorrow night something like this is likely to occur. But Elijah has shown me, is it fair for me to say what you would like to model
yes
your play after? All right. I will say then, I love it. I mean, in fact, I won't even lie because this is careful, but I just said, I'll dumb it down a little bit. I was watching it and I just said, oh, heck yeah. But I said it a little differently, but since there might be kids in the car.
Yes. It did elicit a good reaction from you because I was going through like the formation that's running this play. I was getting some inspiration. I got down on my memo pad here, just a bunch of different options out of this formation. So I was looking for a little bit of inspiration. And I came across this play from a random Big 12 game in 2012. And I was like, yeah, I think
which should tell people a lot, right? Like,
it can mean a lot of things. It could be a lot of different things.
Yeah. Big 12 of a few years back. I mean, I think the conference had a rule that you could only play defense for 5 minutes.
Yes. And when that time ran out, no more. No more. Yeah,
then you just couldn't play defense anymore. And that's why all the games were like, 40-something to 40-something. So in that respect, this is anyway, yes. And I hope you get full clearance from either the commissioner / program head coach or, whichever head coach you'll be calling this for tomorrow night. In the Garnet and Black game.
Hey, so whichever coach I'm calling it for, whenever they see this, when Shane sees this, it's going to be an offer he can't refuse, right?
It is.
This is a Godfather offer of a play. This
will be very Don Corleone. I can't disagree, man. I can't disagree.
Maybe a couple tweaks that we might want to throw in there, but like in terms of that play I sent you from a random Big 12 game back in 2012, then buddy, this is about as good as it gets. I see this working. Because I don't think many defensive players have ever lined up against this formation.
That's fair. I would agree. So it could certainly be something that, well, again, without saying too much, I love it. I love it. And we talk about it a lot though, right? In the sport of football, doesn't matter what level in the sport of football, it's not so much the call, it's the execution.
This will definitely need to be executed well.
Yeah, but I love it. I love it. So,
and because it's an old school formation, I'm going to find the shortest khaki shorts I own, and I'm going to wear my white Nike tennis shoes with some tall socks.
No, you know what you need to do?
I want to have a clipboard. We're going to really play this up.
Okay, I don't want the shortest khaki shorts. You need to go go to a thrift store tomorrow morning somewhere. And whether it's Goodwill or something like that, somebody out there has a pair of those like 1980s like coaches like, and I say bike shorts. I don't mean like bicycle shorts, like bike, like the brand name.
I want to look like Matthew McConaughey and We Are Marshall.
Yes.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Those yes. Yes. That'll just add. Please
I'm trying to show as much leg as possible. I'm trying to show as much leg as humanly possible. If we're making this a show, we're making this a show, baby.
Yeah, if you got to go, right? I mean, you may as well go if you're going all out. You go all out. If any of you know where Elijah can find a pair of those, y'all know the ones, especially if you're of a certain age, you know what your coach wore in football practice or in PE class.
Because it's been ingrained in your memory.
Yeah, and you're like, God, and like, thank goodness that style went away. Or you even might say, how in the world did that ever get allowed to be worn? So, either way. All right, I think Elijah needs me to get out of here. So, listen, y'all have a great rest of your Thursday. Enjoy Carolina calls. Enjoy the baseball game. Garnet and Black tomorrow. I'll be talking to you from the course throughout the day tomorrow. For Elijah, I'm Jay. See you. Do you know too often guys just won't go to the doctor when they're feeling off or when something's been bothering them or troubling them? They're embarrassed. They don't want to talk about it, or they think it's just going to go away. Listen, seriously, don't be that guy. All right. Get to feeling better, not only physically, but mentally too, physiologically. If something's bothering you physically and it's weighing on you every day in work, at home, that's not good. Go see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. They are experts in healthcare for men, and they're dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. They've been doing this for a long time. I told you a bunch, no one size fits all, no magic pills. This is real medical help designed to make you feel better. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family and your loved ones. 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic.